Good evening and welcome to Fools Rush In. It's been a very interesting weekend. There's been plenty of comment, discussion, opinion, emotion, and just so much to get through that we've already made the announcement that we are splitting this week's show into two because there's just so much to cover. We invite everyone watching to get involved in the live chat. We will flash up your comments throughout the evening, as I'm sure you will have as much to say as tonight's panel. Before I introduce them, though, let's kick things off properly with the title sequence as I formally welcome you to tonight's episode of Fools Rush In.
Take my hand, take my whole life too. But I can't help falling in love with you.
And let's get straight in with the introductions of tonight's panel, starting with Ben. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Fifey, I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Delighted that you can join us, a man who is going to have an opinion on just about everything we talk about tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my teeth stuck into it.
Someone else who can't wait to get his teeth stuck in is Nick. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm very well. Really looking forward to tonight. I'm sure it's going to be lively. Plenty of opinions flying about.
I'm hoping it's going to be lively and plenty of opinions. Next up, let me welcome Ned. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Everyone else all right?
Very, very well, thank you. Looking forward to your opinion on one or two things, because you're normally the dark horse, so you're never quite sure which side of the fence you're going to sit on. So it will be very, very entertaining. Next up, let me welcome to the panel Warren. How are you, pal?
Evening, gents. All good, thank you. How are we all?
Very, very well, thank you. Penultimate panelist. Good evening, Woody.
Buongiorno, how are we all?
Very, very well. Delighted to have you on as well, sir. And last but certainly not least, the man who I believe is just about winning the internal vote on who should host going forward. Good evening, Craig.
Evening, Fifey. I'm as excited as a really excited person who's got an extra special reason to be excited. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to today.
That's excellent to hear. And for those following our Twitter, you will understand where Craig is going with that one. As I said in the intro, please send your comments into the live chat. We'd love your opinion on everything we discuss here tonight. And gents, we have so much to cover. Let's get straight into it. Harry McKirdy situation. If we go back a couple of weeks, between us, we disagreed, I think it's fair to say, about the red card at Salford. McKirdy himself then had his match ban. It came out what happened when he went down the tunnel and the events there. The FA, probably rightly, have then issued him a 3-game ban. He then proceeded to make a comical post on his Instagram, let's say. Where do we stand on this? And there's a couple of things I want to go through. So let's break it down individually. Are we as fans to blame for the monster that McKirdy has become? Because we accept him for what he does, and there seems to be no wrong in a lot of fans' eyes. Nick, I'll start you off with that.
I think what you've just said is probably right. There's no wrong in a lot of people's eyes. He's the sort of player that you can forgive some of his antics off the pitch as long as he delivers on the pitch. And he has delivered last season, and he is the catalyst for what gets the fans going, what gets the team going. Scored 20 odd goals last season, had a fantastic season. On Twitter, I likened him to Cantona, obviously not skill level, not that level of performance, but for us, he's our Cantona. Now, Ferguson treated Cantona totally different to every other player in that Man United side. And he's the sort of player you've got to manage totally different to everybody else. Now, I don't condone some of the stuff he's done. He's wrong. He needs to be told that, and he needs to change his ways slightly. But he is, again, as I put a post up, he's a bit of a Marmite character. Some people love him. Some people want him out of the club. I'm in the camp that says he stays. He would deliver for us, and he's a better benefit to us than he is a negative to us. That's
Ben, I believe you're firmly on that camp as well, aren't you?
Oh, 100% with that with Nick. I do agree. I think the Cantona analogy is a brilliant one. Cantona got stamped a fan in the chest and running in the crowd, got banned for 9 months and was still called King Eric. McKirdy's not nearly or close to that. I do think you do treat McKirdy slightly differently to most others, purely for the fact that he is a maverick and he can do stuff that other players can't do. As long as he keeps producing that, keeps looking after himself on the pitch and keeps producing on the pitch, then you can give him that little bit of leeway. Of course, he can't keep doing what he's been doing. Of course, he deserves to be banned. He deserves to be fined. And he deserves counselling more than anything, just to help him. But you can't take the fire away from him because you lose that little bit on the pitch. McKirdy stays for me because if we can do anything this season, McKirdy's going to be a big part of it.
So here's my issue with this, and Craig, I'll bring you in after if that's okay, because I think me and you may be along the same sort of lines on this one. My issue with this is, and it'll probably come about when we look at Stockport in a minute. You're accepting the behaviour, Ben. Basically, what you're saying is you're accepting that he's going to get bans, he's going to get fines. You're accepting what is going to happen for the potential and possibility of what might happen on the pitch. Now, my issue with that is he's not playing for 3 games.
No.
That's 3 games without our talisman. We're going to come into Stockport and you're going to say, almost certainly you're going to say, if McKirdy's on the pitch, he's the difference maker and we win that game. But he's made it that he's not on the pitch because of his own actions. And this is where I now have a debate here of the pros and cons of, can you tolerate him getting these bans to keep the character? And it's going to have an adverse effect on what actually happens on the pitch. And Craig, I think you're kind of along that similar line.
Yeah, I am. I think this season, last season, the positives outweighed the negatives, but I don't think that's going to be the case this season. If I thought that McKirdy would be the difference between us going up this season and staying in the league, I'd say keep him. But I don't think he's going to make any difference whether he's playing or not. We're not going up this season. We're nowhere near automatics, and I think we'll miss out on the playoffs. So I think that whether McKirdy's in or not, we're not going up this season. So I think it's best to cash in now. I don't, excuse me. I don't think that he's we're going to be able to tie him down on an extended contract. So I think we should try and get some money for him now. And like you said, Fifey, if he's not on the pitch because of all this stuff that he's been doing, and I'm sorry, he's a professional footballer. He's not a young lad who's 18, 19, doesn't know any better. He's old enough to know better. And I don't buy this that if you try to rein him in a bit from doing this self-destructive nonsense that he does, because it is self-destructive. Most of his bookings are needless, and they've led to suspensions and sendings off. And and then again, what he did afterwards, and his social media posts where he basically has a pop at officials and other players, it doesn't help his game. That doesn't help his game. So why do it? It doesn't make him a better player. He is still a technically gifted player, whether he does that stuff or not. And I'm sorry, but because of the way we've treated him differently, and I see where Ben's coming from and Nick about the Cantona thing, and sometimes you have to treat players differently. But because he's become untouchable, he just seems to think he can get away with what he wants. And I think he's on a downward spiral where it's only going to get worse, and he's dragging our club through the mud. That's what I don't like about it, and I think he needs to go. I thank him for everything he did last season, but no, he needs to go, and we need to cash in.
Warren, I'll bring you in next, but I realised I was kind of talking to Ben without giving him a chance to reply. So if there's anything you want to come in first, Ben, before I hand it over to the other guys, and anything myself or Craig have said there.
I think we mentioned about the suspensions. This guy doesn't miss like 10 games a season or anything. That was the first time in his career that he's ever been sent off. So it's not a regular thing that he gets suspended. We must stamp it out so it doesn't become a regular thing. But he doesn't often get suspended. That's the first time he's ever also been stupid enough to be hauled in front of the Football League to get a longish fine. He's been booked for dissent and he missed 2 games last season because.
Yeah, but don't you think, Ben, that this is something that's escalated to that point because he's been allowed to get away with stuff that he did last season?
I think
it might have been the first time he got sent off, but he was still suspended for what? 3 games last season because he picked up 5 bookings and then 10 bookings.
I think the Salford thing might have been a little bit unique because the McKirdy, he was the way we were playing at the moment was god awful, and McKirdy demands a performance or a level performance from not only himself but the players around him, and he will have pop at his own players, and he does the double teapot, he does the shaky heads because he wants them to play at a level, and he was running, he wasn't getting the balls, he wasn't getting the service, he weren't playing as well as we could, and he was frustrated by that. And then the referee was having this god-awful game as well, and that compounded it. And I think a lot of that built up with the frustration on why he did what he did, and that's why it was unique what he did.
But I got frustrated with that game as well watching it, but I didn't go somewhere and start throwing bottles around.
No,
but he caught the line
that's
away.
But can I come in there?
And he can't show.
I cannot confirm nor deny, Woody. Very quickly, Nick, and then I'll hand it over to Warren.
I think the club have got a big thing to take some responsibility for what happened after he got sent off. Someone should have been with him in the dressing room, making sure that he sat in there and calming down, for one. I've watched a couple of the football programs when Son got sent off from Spurs. He had somebody sat with him in the dressing room. Arsenal player Holding got sent off. Somebody sat with him in the dressing room. And the other thing, why was the referee's room unlocked? I'm not saying any way matter of form. What McKirdy, what he did was absolutely wrong. You can't argue that. It was stupid. It was like a 5-year-old, and he needs to be punished for it, which he has been. But the club have got to take a level of responsibility on not dealing with that player. And if they'd have done that, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now.
So, Warren, handing over to you then, someone who does, as you know, as far as I've got to know you, you kind of understand that risk versus reward balance. Is it right to have someone who I personally would use the word unreliable about around the club just because of what he may do on the pitch?
Oh, it's such a difficult one, isn't it?
I wouldn't ask you if it was an easy one.
My opinion on McKirdy that I feel like that we think that we couldn't go without him, and I certainly think at League Two that, you know what I mean, he's not a world beater. Do you know what I mean? So we've looked at it for one season that he had a worldie of a season for us. Hasn't done it for many other clubs. You know what I mean? I kind of agree with all bits of what everyone said. I agree with Nick massively. The club, they know what he's like. So why haven't they used the situation to, you know what I mean? That's a massive thing. They should have had someone there settling him down. And this wouldn't have even escalated if someone was in there with him and trying to deal with it. But when you're trying to deal with him, who thinks he is this big time Charlie that you feel that you think he is, you could say anything to him and he probably wouldn't listen. You know what I mean? You don't know what goes on behind doors with that character. Do you know what I mean? But then you watch him on the pitch, and when he's on full form, he is pivotal to how we play and how we work. And it is so difficult. But for me, I slightly lean with Craig because I just feel like everyone's going this week, we would have won the game without McKirdy. McKirdy didn't play because of his actions. There's no other, You know what I mean? That's the reason he wasn't playing, and he won't play for the next couple of games. So we can't be going, oh, we would have won that game with McKirdy, because this is McKirdy that's put us there. So it's so difficult, because he is one of our better players. 100%, I agree with that. But is he replaceable? I think massively at this level. You're a League Two footballer. You know what I mean? You're not a world beater. You're not a Premier League player. Do you know what I mean? You are at League Two level for a reason. And this is probably the first club where you've come in and you've settled down at a club and you've actually played all right, because at previous clubs he hasn't. So and it comes from the club. If they fine him inside or someone gives him a rollicking, then that comes for it. But I feel there's too much arm over the shoulder. Oh, it's okay, Harry. It's fine. It's okay. We'll let you get away with this one. And you know what I mean? I'll let him have this one. Like Ben said, if it's his first red card and you with us, but there's something that's got to be done. So the proof will be now when he comes back out from this ban has he took it on board? Will we see a slightly different Harry, where he thinks, I'm not going to get myself booked deliberately? And I'm with you, Fifey. I don't think we will.
He won't.
Harry.
He won't. You look at his Instagram post afterwards. Like Liam said on the lower league, look, he should have come out and apologised to our fans as well for being suspended for the 3 games. And his Instagram post was basically a joke, taking the piss out of it. He doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't appear to me he's taking it seriously.
And then you question, does he even really care? You know what I mean? And I'm with you. Football's a business at the end of the day. We all want to do well, but if there's a chance to cash in, and you know what I mean, before this window, you know what I mean, or even next, will we take it? Like we've always said, if the money's right, the club will take it. But it's such a difficult one. But I slightly lean towards the fact that I think we'll give him this chance, but he has to do something different to improve his behaviour. I don't buy into this. You can't take this out of him because this is part of his game. I'm sorry. You can still be good at football and not have that edge in your game. You can still play decent enough to not have that where I need to get booked to fire me up or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I can't have that at all.
Ned, where are you on this one?
Go on, Ned.
Well, I think we're going to slightly tip the other way now, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
I mean, to be honest, I want to hugely agree with everything that Nick said. You know, the club has to take a certain amount of responsibility. You know, let's just say if we know that this person's character, you know, is a bit way, you know, and do you know what I mean? Like, he's a bit erratic. The last thing you want to do anyway is leave him on his own with the high pressure situation. You know, thing that's just happened is, you know, you want to make sure that he's okay. You want to get in his head and just like get him to calm down. But yeah, I mean, it's no excuse for what he done. Me personally, I mean, definitely needs a fine, suspension, whatever. He's already got the suspension, but I would say a fine from the club as well, just to say, you know, you stepped over the line here, sunshine.
I don't want to jump on your point too much, but I do just want to ask a follow-up question just on that specific thing you said there about the club need to take a certain amount of responsibility, and I kind of understand it, but what we also need to say is this is a fully grown adult who should be able to act in a certain manner in his job. So yes, the club should. Okay, the club. There can be questions of the club, but also he doesn't need. Like, he's already got himself. I used the word petulant at the time for the sending off. The Instagram post about the ban is also petulant, but he doesn't need. Like, you can be annoyed if you're going to throw a bottle. Fine, do it in your own changing room. Why have you gone and done it there? Like, knowing you're going to get into trouble.
Well, I don't think anything that he did was measured afterwards. I mean, let's be honest. Nothing was thought through. Nothing was, you know, constructive. It's. I mean, oh God, I'm gonna sound really bad here, but I understand where he's coming from in the sense of, you know, being sent off for something where you shouldn't have been sent off for. Because I'm still going to stick by my guns and say there's absolutely nowhere in this planet he should have been sent off. So typically he gets booked for being petulant and, you know, throwing the old, you know, verbals back at the referee. And it was done very early in that game. and to be sent off through not a red card, and for the fact that every time he got on the ball, he was blooming pushed to the ground or kicked to the ground. I mean, I get it.
Don't you think he's made a rod for his own back through his constant criticism of officials over the last season, Ned? He has made a target for himself where referees and officials, and even more so now, do you think any of those referees that we're going to have when he comes back are going to give him the benefit of the doubt? Because that referee certainly didn't against Salford.
It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse for him because, and sorry, Ned, to jump in on your bit, but it's only going to get worse because now, like Craig's just said, the refs have got on it. The opposition know exactly what to do. So something's got to change in his head, because if it doesn't, it's going to get worse because he's going to get booked more. He's going to get sent off more. People weren't alluded to it last season, and that's why we kind of let him get away with it. But now they're all on it. The refs are on it. The opposition players know how to wind him up. So if he doesn't change something in his head, he's going to get sent off more, and he's going to be banned more. And it's just not. The only detriment will be to us because we won't have one of our better players on the pitch.
But the club have got to manage him now, haven't they? This is the key thing. I mean, last season you're talking about McKirdy complaining about refs. The worst person last season was Ben Garner. Every week he moaned about the standard of refereeing, and it was bloody boring. Every press conference he was moaning about the referees. So that doesn't help the club. I know he's gone now, but that didn't help us last season. And different people need to be managed differently. In my past life, I was a manager of about 100 people. You treat people differently. Some of them needed a bloody bollocking and kick up the ass to get them to do anything. Others, you put your arm around their shoulder and you had to encourage them and help them to achieve. Now, unfortunately, McKirdy is one of those players that's wired differently. He's got a different mindset. He's not your norm, but he has delivered for us. Now, whether he does it this season or not, what's he got? 2 goals this season so far out of our 5 or 6 we've scored. So he's on the right track. Prior to that, I had a look at his record. 75 games previously, he scored 10 goals. Now, people say he should go. Who's going to buy him? Nobody's going to take a chance on McKirdy because he is a loose cannon, but we have to manage that person. Because I can't see any other club buying him. He won't want to go to another League 2 club, and he won't go to a League 1 club because they won't take a risk on him. So he's with us. He will stay, and we have to manage that person.
That is very, very valid, Nick. Let me throw it back to Ned to finish his point, and then Woody's been waiting very, very patiently to have his say as well. So I'm keen to keep it going to give everyone a fair crack. So carry on, Ned.
I can't even remember where I got to now, but I think what we need to remember as well is that, let's just say, if he didn't get sent off for that tackle, which he shouldn't have done, and he carried on playing and scored 2 goals in that game, we would be having this debate now. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, that's that one moment. It's that one moment that has led to this explosion. I think he manages it quite well. He obviously must manage it quite well because this is his first sending off in his career. I mean, granted, he hasn't played a huge amount of games, but he's managed it up until this point.
The thing is, we're not really debating the sending off, are we? The sending off's neither here nor there, and we actually performed better when he wasn't on the pitch. We're debating his actions after the red card.
Yeah.
But also as well, I mean, I personally don't want him to change. I mean, I don't want him to change in the sense, it's nice to have characters in football. I know you get some blooming, it might be better for, PR that we don't have anyone who, if we had a whole team with Ryan Giggs apart from recently, of course.
Come on.
But like, someone who never says boo to a goose and never does anything like, never says anything controversial. But okay, bad choice. But it's just, I love the fact that he's outspoken and everyone knows about him, and all the away fans, and when we travel somewhere, the home fans are really angsty about it. And I love it. I absolutely love. I mean, I hate the whole blooming thing about the women's football. I mean, don't get me wrong, that was so not judged. So badly executed as well. But it's just the rest of it, I understand, it's not very professional, and it can lead to other things, and maybe unhappiness in the changing room, and it's just I love characters in the game, and I'm sure if you ask the players, around the changing room, they will say that it's refreshing to have a character like Harry McKirdy in the changing room. I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine so. But yeah, I don't know. I personally wouldn't want to get rid of him. I love him in the Swindon team. I think he adds so much, and football needs characters. We don't need these new age sort of machine players.
athletes.
Yeah.
Woody, where are you on this particular debate? You've been waiting very patiently. Thank you very much.
To be fair, I'm a bit on the fence about it, as much as that might annoy people. But
get off the fence, Woody. Pick a side.
I'm trying to get off the fence. I'm trying to get off the fence. If we think, first of all, if I address the Stockport issue, there was no way, even if Harry McKirdy was on the pitch, he would have stopped them from scoring an equaliser anyway. So regardless, he's not the reason we didn't beat Stockport. We lost the game to 10-man. We drew the game to 10-man Stockport. The other thing around he's a grown man, etc. I actually disagree with that comment, and I only say I disagree with that comment because I work in HR, and I can tell you now there are people a lot older than Harry McKirdy that do a lot more stupid things than what he did. So and that includes people that are in the spotlight as well. Obviously, I'm not allowed to reveal who they are, but that includes people that are very, very much in the spotlight. So yeah. The other thing is as well, I think we've got to be careful on this. I don't think anything's come out about exactly what happened after that, except for because if you walk down the county ground and you throw a bottle or whatever it was down there, obviously he's aimed it at the referee's changing room, okay? But I don't think he would have actually opened the door and then thrown the bottle in there. I don't think that would have happened, but that doesn't excuse his behaviour. The other thing I'm going to say is, was it about this time last year after the women's tweet, I said, when he starts doing something completely wrong that everybody hates, the fans will start to turn on him, and voila, that's what's happening. In my eyes, 2 goals in 5 games, that's not actually a bad return for somebody who's not actually playing as a striker, but so he's not having a bad season. He has, I don't think any team will come in to buy him. So I think I agree with Nick. I think we can get that out of our head because, like Woz has said, he's only proven himself at League 2 last season, and he's not set the world alight this season. So League 1 ain't going to come in for him. If it does, it's going to be a lower end League 1 or a League 2 side, which means we probably won't get much money for him anyway, and then it'll all be an instalment. So I'd be very, very surprised if we actually accept a bid at all for him, to be honest. How we deal with him, that's up to the club. That's where Scott Lindsay and co have got to come in and deal with. Ben Garner would have left it be, like he did with with other things with the club. I know some inside information about how the club dealt with the women's tweet and things like that, i.e. didn't do anything with it at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just go because the FA ban's on, that they'll just leave it as it is. He's got an FA ban of 3 games, and then X, Y, and Z. The only other thing I would say is I didn't actually know it was his first sending off. If we take that out of the equation, but we talk about his, gobbing off at referees and stuff. We haven't said a single word in the last probably 6 months about the way Louis Reed gobs off. Now, Louis Reed had suspensions last year because of gobbing off the referees. He got sent off after the whistle for gobbing off at referees. And we didn't say, apart from us going, there's a little bit of inexperience seeking in there. He's the same age as Harry McKirdy. And we've not addressed it. We never said anything after that. We left it be. Now, the only reason we're discussing this now is because Harry McKirdy's been suspended for 3 games. If it was 1 game, I don't think we'll be discussing it. And so yes, I think he's an annoying little prat. But, that's, at the end of the day, if this is a first occurrence, I'm quite happy not to just let it slide, but I'm quite happy to be wary that he's a good player. Let's just see him play and hopefully he returns. But I will have no qualms if he's dropped because he starts playing shit. And I will turn on him if he gets another suspension because of some stupid actions or something like that. That's fair enough. I just think that, I don't think that the trigger reaction that we're having right now is a trigger reaction to a trigger reaction of a player. We've all done it. We've all had a really stupid moment where we've just seen red and we've done something really stupid. And I don't care whether he's a professional footballer or not. We've all done it in our life. We've done something really, really stupid because of the way we've acted. I mean, I know people that have booked a fucking plane to Gibraltar and stuff like that. So, we've all done really stupid shit when we've been angry or upset or something like that. So, but yeah, I think, at the end of the day, we just got to deal with the next two games. I don't know if he's suspended tomorrow night or not. I don't know if that's included. If it is, maybe that's a bonus. But would he be because you have to have 6 of your last starting lineup or whatever? I don't know the rules around that. But if he is suspended, happy days. That's one less league game. But I'm quite happy this time. He's taking his punishment. He's taking his fine. But if he does it again, then we've got real issues. If he does it again. But I think although he's a bit of a dick, he is a bit of a character. But he's one of those that we just can't afford to turn on at the moment until we've got somebody else in.
On that point, and sticking with you, Woody, quick straw poll before we kind of move on to the next topic. If a reasonable offer, whatever reasonable is decided to by the club, comes in before deadline day, would you cash in? Starting with you, Woody.
I'm going to just say no because I don't think we'll get a decent offer.
Okay. Warren?
If the offer come in and it was good enough, he's a League Two footballer. You know what I mean? There's money talks at this level. If it's the right offer for the club and the player wants to go, then you can't stop him.
Okay, Ned? Oh, sorry, Ned, you're muted.
Hey, there we go. If Harry wants to go, then there's no stopping him, obviously. But it all depends on the situation. Because if it's 10 o'clock on the deadline day and we haven't got another replacement in, then I'm saying no because we're absolutely screwed for the season. But if it was a lot of money and it was tomorrow, yes.
Okay. Let's go to Nick next.
No, he stays, and we need 2 more forwards as well. We can't afford to let him go.
Ben?
If only someone else is lined up, and the deal has to be on our terms.
Okay, and Craig?
Oh, I wish Mark was here to back me up. I think so if the offer's right. But I mean, it is a fair point, and I said this on the lower league look last night that we were supposedly looking for 2 strikers as it is. So, but I don't think, with or without him, we're not going up, we're not going down either. So I'd be happy to cash in, and if it was a good offer, take it, because also I don't think he's going to sign a contract extension.
Okay, let's move on to the weekend result then. It is another draw, and depending on how you want to spin it is how this will come across. So Ben, I'll start with you, and let's throw a few different ways of looking at it, and then you can tell us your thought process here. So being ahead and then playing against 10 men, drawing the game, a lot of people will look at it as 2 points lost. However, we all get brought up to say win at home, draw away. So some may look at it as a good point away against a team who, although they've not been in great form, they were at the start of the season quite fancied. Performances on the whole seem to be continuing to improve, is another factor. There are still certain questions, and that will link into further topics tonight about, we had the substitutions that were made have been questioned in the game. Darcy still playing at right back. And again, these all link to things that we talk about later in the episode. But when you look at the whole package, a draw at the weekend, is it a decent result, if not a good result?
Well, you've got to look at it, have a balanced look at it, really. In the end of the day, because the situation of the game going into the last 10 minutes is 2 points dropped. Of course it is. You're 1-0 up playing against 10 men, looking quite comfortable at that time as well. So, of course, it's 2 points dropped. There are lots of positives about the game. Our midfield were tremendous. Their own manager piped up and said we were the better team. So it's not all doom and gloom, as we've read online with a lot of fans just scathing like we got beat 3-0. That just simply didn't happen, and that's simply not true and unfair. You look at our front three that played, Shade, Wakelin and Williams, it's not really the most potent, and you think a better forward line wins that game quite comfortably. So there's lots of positives to take. Manager-wise, I think he can't go without criticism. I think we get away with playing Darcy at right back against Rochdale because they're poor and offered little going forward. But because Stockport own a bit more threat, you need someone a little bit better there. And just to say that Hutton's a wing back and not a full back, he can play full back and should have filled in there, or we should have brought Brannan in and filled in that little spot because of his height going into the last 10 minutes of the game. So you've got to criticise the manager there as well. So overall, lots of positives, more positives than negatives. I think it's a lot to build on, but I think that was very winnable and we sort of threw it away.
Okay. Ned, let's come to you next on the weekend. Is there still more pros than cons, or is there quite a few negatives which seem to be getting picked up on?
Well, I've got to be honest, and I was very down at the last few performances. I have to say, I think personally that there was a lot of positives in that game. I thought, our triangles, people linking up together, I thought was so much better than I've seen all season. So much better. It was more like the football that we was playing last year, but quicker through the thirds. Like it just felt like the plan was starting to come together. We just lacked that. Well, I'd say it's not even so much cutting edge up top. I just think we just seem to lack creating clear-cut chances. We had a lot of shots from outside the box. So, when you have a look at the stats and it says, shots on, shots 11 or whatever it was, a lot of them were from outside the box. We're not just creating those moments in the, in the 6-yard box or, by the penalty spot or, 18-yard box. It's just, we're just not creating enough. But, that will come with time. And McKirdy coming back and Ellis coming back. I think there's a lot of positives there. It's, for me, the only negative was the fact that was the lack of creation of clear-cut chances. And realistically as well, we got off to a really hot start, and that was a massive positive as well, because sometimes we looked a bit ropey in the first sort of 5-10 minutes. But yeah, I honestly, I got a lot from that game. It was very frustrating to end up with a draw. When they go down to 10, you think, oh God, to be fair, even before the player got sent off, you thought this is in the bag because they've created absolutely zip in the game, essentially, not even just in the second half. But it really, 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 is typical Swindon in the sense of you can go from zero shot creation to conceding a goal from nothing. It's just standard Swindon practice. But I think there's a lot of positives. I don't think people getting on the bandwagon for crisis is justified at all. I think if you look at each game and look how much better we've played with each game that's elapsed, I think you can only class it as a positive.
Let me throw over to Craig next.
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button there for a second. Obviously, I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think there was that many positives. I don't think we have improved that much. Look, we had a 3-0 win against Rochdale. It was Rochdale, a very, very poor team. All right, yeah, you can only beat who's in front of you, but I think that's kind of papered over the cracks, to be honest. As Ned, I do agree with Ned. That was such a frustrating result. We dominated that first half, right? But we only had 4 shots on goal, 0 on target. You know, we could have killed them off in that first half, but we didn't. It's starting to sound familiar to how we were at home last season. And, you know, how much longer are we going to... I'm not saying it's a crisis mode. I'm not a Lindsay out person or anything like that. I want to give him time. But how much longer are we going to give them if we want to have a successful season? You know, this team should have hit the ground running. The players who we recruited should have been good enough to hit the ground running. The formation, the tactics should have been ready for the start of the season. And what's happened these last 5 games? It's been all over the shop. A couple of injuries, and we're having to chop and change the formation. We've got players who can't play at full back, but are only wing backs and everything. It just looks like a mess to me. I don't think it is a crisis, but we need to do better. We need to do so much better. And my confidence is shaken in Lindsay because I was one of the people who cheered when he got the job. I thought it was a really good appointment, despite what people saying it was the cheap option. But I honestly think I might have been wrong because I don't think he's got a clue. You know, there was clues like earlier on in the season, the pre-season with the Cardiff game. He deliberately made sure the players were tired for a pre-season game, you know, to see how long they'd last. I don't understand what you would get for that. Woody might be able to explain that. I don't know. I did not understand that. And you know, you should have your players fit for a start of the game, but not tired. You know what I mean? Especially when you're coming into the start of the season. But sorry, I'm digressing there. Going back to Stockport. Yeah, we played well. Great goal by Blake Tracy, but Stockport were gradually coming back into the game before they'd even had that sending off, and when they scored their goal, they were hitting us down the flanks quite a bit on the counter attacks. So yeah, I wasn't that impressed with Stockport. I didn't think they were that good. They were there for the taking, and we should have got a result there. We really should have done, whether they had 10 men or not. They weren't that good, and we should have beaten them, and it's definitely 2 points dropped. I'm hoping that going forward in our next sort of six games that we get 4 wins, and then I might change my mind. I might be a bit more pessimistic and not so negative.
Well, you mentioned him there, so let's bring Woody in next and ask him his opinion on it. He looks delighted to have been thrown in next.
On opinion on what? The game or the theory about getting tired players?
Well, you can comment on both, to be fair, but let's start with the game itself.
The game itself, I mean, come on, lads. We got a 1-1 draw against the favourites to win the league, didn't we? According to some. I say it every time. I hate draws. I don't know if we've got it in the agenda about talking about how many draws we've had this season. Yes. The fact we're not losing and stuff like that, but yeah, I probably before the game may have taken a draw, potentially with not knowing anything about Stockport, with the exception of Paddy Madden and Sarkiewicz, who, funnily enough, were heavily involved in the game. But I'm really, really disappointed that we've let 1-0 slip, like away or home. I think that's what's really the concern for me. And according to the Swindon website, again, I don't know too much about the game. As you guys know, I've had quite a busy weekend, but it looked like it said we played 3-4-3 on the Swindon website.
It was 4-3-3.
Oh, okay. Well, the Swindon website's wrong, and so someone needs to sort that out. But yeah, I saw the goals. You know, I mean, the Stockport equaliser was okay, but it's. We can't. I don't know how long we can sit here for. We're getting into September now, and we seem to be chalking up more draws than anything else. So, for that reason, I think we should have taken advantage and jumped off the back of the Rochdale result, and really, really, gone at them, so to speak. Again, I can't really comment too much on the game. The rest of the guys watched it. I do think, given that we're in a winning position against 10 men, it's quite a disappointing draw.
Okay, let me hand over to Nick next.
Okay, cheers, Fifey. Obviously, I didn't see the game. I only picked up on reports that through Twitter, Sky Sports, etc., and looking on the internet. But I think Lindsay's got to take a big level of responsibility there. From what I read, once Madden got sent off, they were content with bombing the ball into our penalty area, trying to get something out of the game. We had 3 centre halves on the bench. Why the hell didn't he put one of those centre halves in the back to help that issue of them bombing balls into our box? Yeah. So to me, Lindsay didn't use his subs as he should have done. I saw the goals. Yeah, Matey Boy took his goal well. It was a header that fell to him. You know, he was a bit lucky there how it came down to him, but he did take his goal well. Keeper didn't have any chance. I don't think we created a massive amount from what I could see and from the highlights, but you know, 3 centre halves on the bench, and we'll come on to Lindsay later. There's a massive issue there. So to me, we lost 2 points. We should have got 3 points if Lindsay had been a bit smarter, and I think that shows some of his inexperience in this league.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, the substitutions is something, Warren, that's been widely spoken about online. I mean, Nick makes a very interesting point about the non-use of centre-backs when the ball is being launched into the area to try and get an equaliser. I know I mentioned in the intro to this section about Darcy playing at right back. Hutton came on and Darcy still played at right back with Hutton playing further forward, and people couldn't really understand what was going on there. And Lindsay is obviously the next topic as well. But are we looking at a situation where 6 games in, we're questioning his in-game ability to adapt and react?
No, for me, it's too soon. The going down to 10 men doesn't entitle you to get something from to win the game. That's we saw that against Salford when we went down to 10 men. We dug in and we got a result. So it doesn't mean that Stockport going down to 10 men meant that we should have won the game. They could have been with 11 men and they still could have scored. Do you know what I mean? They threw caution to the wind like they do. They're a physical side. They're chucking balls in our box. I agree with Nick's point that we could have bought another centre half on and could have changed the system, gone to 3 at the back. But I've always learned, and I've done a little bit of management, sometimes when you're in the game and you're in the moment, you chuck that other player on, they're not up to tempo straight away. And putting someone on at the back who's not into the tempo straight away when there's balls flying into your box, sometimes that side of it comes into it that they're not into match tempo straight away. And that can be the difficult side of it. I do think Lindsay made a mistake. I thought bringing on Hutton was a good move, but not putting Hutton at right back was the problem. You know what I mean? Darcy has done well. We controlled the game in the first half, getting in these triangles like Ned alluded to, playing decent football, knocking the ball about. But when push comes to shove and we were on the back foot, you need to go a little bit more defensive-minded, and we didn't do that. Bringing Hutton on, it should have gone straight to Hutton going to right back, and I would have preferred Darcy to be further up the pitch because Hutton would have brought you maybe that little bit more defensive stability. I think a lot of people have took his mistake that he made against where he switched off at the back post. You know, I mean, I criticised him for that, but that doesn't make him a bad defender. And I honestly think that we should have gone to him at the back and Darcy should have been further up the pitch.
Just before we move on, Woody, as someone who does coach, what is because I noticed it was said again in the pre-match sort of teams call that the advert we're reporting on today, that both Shade and Hutton are wing backs, not full backs. But for me, you can do both, surely.
No, I would disagree, to be totally honest. I think a wing-back role is very, very different to a full-back role. I think I don't want to use the cop-out and say there's a lot more energy involved because that would suggest that full-backs are lazy. But you have to almost have a 50-50 element to your game in terms of you have to be just as good going forward as you are defensively. With a full-back, you don't. You could be, you could be like a Gary Neville. Gary Neville, fantastic fullback, really defensively, but going forward, he was cack. So it's, but I think I've only read those things come through. Rob Hunt I think Rob Hunt would have been okay at wing back, but the one thing that just made me laugh, because I don't see Sade or Hutton. I don't see them as wing backs at all. To be totally honest, I think Shade's a winger, and I think Hutton is more of a fullback. But who am I to say? But from what I've heard from a couple of the guys who've already said, that Hutton not coming on at fullback just seems strange to me. Because was it Salford he came on at fullback? I want to say it was Salford, and he was really good that game. I know they only played against 10 men, but he was really good that game. That's the most effective I've seen him play.
He actually got further forward. He put some crosses in from fullback.
Exactly.
So it doesn't stop you going forward. No, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where that terminology of the overlapping fullback come in. Chelsea were famous for it first, probably. That's kind of, the overlapping fullback. There's nothing wrong with that. Ellis Iandolo was really good when he plays that overlapping fullback role. But that confused me when they said that they're wing backs and not fullbacks, because I don't see a wing back in either of those two, to be totally honest. I see a winger in Sade, and I see a full back in Hutton. But then obviously, we all see the game very differently.
No, absolutely.
Just on that point as well, is that I think the Lindsay criticism is fair to a point, but any manager could have made that decision. And we've all heard before, never change a back four when you're in the middle of a game if you don't have to, unless it's an injury. So he could have quite easily just thought, right, I'm going to bring a defensive-minded player on, but I'm not going to change the shape or not change the four. They've played together for the first 80 minutes of the game. If we would have walked off that game and won 1-0, we wouldn't be discussing this, that Darcy didn't go further forward or that Hutton didn't go to right back. There's no thing. And I doesn't think that Lindsay's inexperience should doubt it. He's a good coach and he knows that maybe the instincts on the sidelines, maybe, but I don't think it's unfair I think it's massively unfair to write him off for one mistake. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we'd won on and carried on with the game. And they could have quite easily scored a goal like they did with them having 11 men on the pitch comfortably.
Well, that is a lovely segue into our next topic, and we can kind of discuss, does being a good coach automatically make you a good head coach stroke manager, I suppose? There are many, for me, pros and cons, but we are still early in his tenure as head coach or first team coach, whatever the official name is. And I'll go on record and say, I'm not Lindsay out after 6 games. That's ridiculous. There's been a lot of discussion via our Twitter these last couple of days about how long we can accept what we've had so far, though. If our sort of points per game stays as it is and our performances pretty much stay as they are, I don't think he'll be here at Christmas. I'll say that. And I think there will be, the longer this sort of, and we're going to come on to the start of the season in a bit, but the longer this sort of mediocrity where the I perceive it, and I can only say what my opinion is, the mediocrity as I perceive it carries on, the louder those calls will be for him to be replaced. And unfortunately, we're in a situation, I think you alluded to it earlier, Craig, where there are some fans who were ready to write him off from the beginning because he was the cheap option. And the longer, again, this goes on, the more they will believe that to be a correct stance. And they may be correct. I've made a couple of notes here. And Craig, I'll start with you on this one before we go around everyone. But the couple of notes I've made is he did react. We set up at the beginning to play the sort of 3-4-3, sort of 3-5-2 type formation. He saw it wasn't working. He reacted. He changed to the 4 as relatively quickly, I would say. I'm not a massive fan of after each game, and I know a few people have said this. It's like everyone's a good side. Well, we're in a league where everyone should be more or less on a level. We're not in a league where teams are going to be going and hammering people 9-0 like Celtic and Liverpool did at the weekend. or shouldn't do anyway. But you can't come away from every game saying we've done well because they're a good side. We are a good side, and we should be beating some of the teams we haven't beaten. So in terms of Lindsay, Craig, where are you at? Because you've already kind of started your say on this, where you are asking questions, but you're not quite Lindsay out yet.
Yeah, I want to give him a chance. I want to see what happens. Obviously, the next month is going to be crucial for Lindsay. We've got 5 games. I want to see at least 3 wins out of that. We need to get wins on the board, not just draws and dropping points. If he can do that, 9 points out of 15, then I would be content to let him continue and see how we get on until Christmas. But it's a difficult one. The whole thing about head coach, manager, the roles are kind of blurred so much over the years, and it's a difficult one. You know, it comes up every time someone like Lindsay, who's been a coach, then becomes a head coach or manager, whatever you want to call it, and they don't have that good start. You start to question that. I don't know, but as I said earlier, I have a feeling that he doesn't seem to know what his best 11 is, what his formation is, who should be playing in a lot of the positions, which is a bit worrying when we're a month into the season. And you know, is he the right man for Swindon at the moment? He is at the moment, but I don't think he's the entire problem, as I alluded to yesterday. I think our recruitment hasn't been good enough so far, based on what I've seen so far. We've had a few good players, but we've brought in about 10 players as well. So yeah, you know, when you compare that to what Ben Chorley did last season in a lot more restrictive circumstances, I think questions need to be asked of Sandro Di Michele. But so that's another reason why I'm willing to give Lindsay more of a chance.
Woody, let's come to you next, because I know you've already sort of noted to us the difference in roles between head coach and manager as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that a head coach / manager is not really to do with the person's ability or their experience. A manager will not normally have a director of football. A head coach will. A manager would be seen as somebody who takes control of everything, you know, whether it be from the recruitment of the tea lady through to, you know, recruitment and performance on the pitch. So Scott Lindsay is definitely a head coach. There's no things about that. So, and he'll be a head coach because he's a very good coach, as we've alluded to already. Would I give him till Christmas? No, if this is the current run we're on. The only reason being is I think as also we need a little bit of transparency to come from the club in terms of where the board and where Clem and Di Michele see us, where they want us to be. If this is a consolidation season, then I think we do give them till Christmas. But if they generally think that that we're going to get out of this division this season, whether that's via playoffs or automatics, we can't give them till Christmas. We need to start seeing results. Yes, I agree fully with Craig that we need to look at our recruitment, but that's where the conversations between Di Michele and Scott Lindsay should be happening. You know, like then Di Michele will be signing players based on what Scott Lindsay thinks he's missing as well. It won't be all Di Michele chucking in players left, right, and centre. There will be an element that Scott Lindsay has to do with that as well. But, you know, like I say, if the club's aspirations are to go up this season in whichever way we do go up, we can't give them till Christmas. We can't have that risk of bringing in a new manager / head coach come, you know, the January transfer window. We need that beforehand, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm not Lindsay out. I don't think he is the wrong man for the job. I think he's got the ability. Like I say, we're not losing games. I am concerned that we're drawing games because people have said we've only lost one, but Barrow have only lost one, and look at them. They're second, and we're languishing in the bottom half.
Equally, Mansfield have already lost 3.
Yeah, exactly, and I think we also got to look at it like, yes, okay, just like the players, he's liable to mistakes. I do think, just judged on what everybody said, I think he made the wrong decisions at the weekend. But he's also made some really good decisions this season. The Salford one was a huge decision. Even playing Darcy at right back, if playing Darcy at right back, what a risk. We were all sat there before the game started going, what the hell is Darcy doing warming up with the defenders? And he was brilliant. I know it was only Rochdale, but he was very good, and considering we'd not seen him there before. So sometimes I think if I personally would be looking at October, like I think to say we've got 5 games in September. 5 games.
Yeah, 5 games.
5, yeah.
5 games in September. We need to be picking up 3 wins, in my opinion. But I think it was Liam that's just posted. That's a very good point. Who is there to come in if Lindsay does go? Who's not going to come in when we're desperate? Therefore, they can charge more money. They could ask for more money and things like that. So I do want Lindsay to stay. I want him to do well. We saw him after that win against Rochdale and how much he loves being here. And I think us fans have got to not take that for granted. We've got somebody who, not like Garner. I think this was a stepping stone for Garner. Whereas Lindsay is very kind of he you can't doubt his passion. He wants to do well for the club. So I'm not him out yet, but I will start to raise my eyebrows if we're in the same kind of form come October, because the form we're on at the moment will be in the bottom 6 in October.
Warren, let's come to you next, and I'll throw into the mix because we've already had the conversation about McKirdy earlier in the night. Is he a strong enough character to go and do what we need him to do and therefore achieve what we want to achieve?
Stronger than Garner, I think. I think he's got a bit more about him. I think he's shown that bit of passion and that bit of which I like to see personally. I know some people see it on the other side of the fence, but I personally like to see a bit of passion. I think this is just why we're questioning him after 6 games. The performances have been getting better. We're not entitled to win a game because we're Swindon Town Football Club in League 2. Like, there's some tough sides at this level, and I don't understand sometimes why we preview this stuff. And I've just had a look through the games that we've played this season, apart from the Harrogate game, but his first game of the season, and you get freak results. We have played some sides that are predicted to be very much at the top end of this league, and I feel we've given ourselves a good account of ourselves. Sometimes the performance hasn't been there, but if the performance isn't there, the grit and determination and the attitude, which comes from the manager, is been there. The players are playing for him. You know what I mean? I think that's got a lot better than what it was at the start. I just don't understand why we get this. That we've played Salford, we've played Orient. Carlisle is a tougher game. I know we've been away there and we've won the games, but that doesn't entitle, because we won there last season, it doesn't mean we're going to win there this season. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't happen. And I don't get the jumping on Lindsay's back this early. I agree. If we get to November time or December and it's not changed, then something will need to be looked at. But I think the results will come. I think everyone needs to relax and stop panicking and give this guy a little bit of time to just do what he needs to do. I think he's a good coach, and I think the managerial instinct or whatever he needs will come. But I don't understand why we start jumping straight away to conclusions after 6 league games. We've been in the games, and we haven't been turned over every game, and it looks bad. You know what I mean? We're doing all right, and I just think we jump on this bandwagon that we've drawn a lot more games than we've won, and I'm just thinking, relax. And we've got a run in now where I would personally look at teams, the likes of Gillingham, Sutton, that are very much winnable games. So after those, my opinion might change. But the 6 games that I've watched so far, apart from Harrogate, every single one is a tough game on paper. And that's where I stand. He is the right man at this time, and I want him to do well because I want him to prove the no-say is wrong, because I think he deserves it.
Ben, let's come to you next. And one of the questions that we were asked online prior to going live was, would it have made much of a difference, do we think, if he'd had a more recognised and experienced number 2 alongside him?
Possibly. We don't know really. I don't know what he's like with the players and around the training room. I don't know the respect that he's got. I don't know his knowledge really of how well he comes across. So maybe it's his choice not to have one. Why does he not want one? You know, maybe he doesn't want to be intimidated. Maybe he doesn't want to be told what to do, what to think. I don't know. So it's up for debate, but it's neither here or there. You don't want the assistant manager to be the manager, or you might as well just make him manager anyway. So let him run his ship the way he wants to run his ship. Is my thinking. In terms of Lindsay himself and how he's done so far, I'm pleased Wazza said what he did, and it wasn't coming from me because then I'm just being a happy clapper. I give Warren about 5. Warren, what is it?
You give Warren 5 games.
I give him about 5 weeks. Lindsay, about 5 weeks. If we're sat 17th in 5 weeks' time, he's got to go. The club's remit at the start of the season, the owners come out, the managers said that, the players have all said that they want, no, this is the season they want to push promotion. If we're not anywhere near in 5 weeks' time, then we really are in not a good place. And he's got to go. He's got to go. We've got some quality players here, and they're damn sight better than 17th in the league. No matter, I don't care what anyone says. And it's early season. Like Liam posts about Barrow. Barrow are not going to be up there in 6 months' time. They're going to be nowhere near top 7 at all. Same with Stevenage. They'll middle out to mid-table because they don't have a deep squad. Your teams like your Tranmeres and your Swindons will push up the league. Whether Swindon do better with a different manager, I don't know, but time will tell. At the moment, I back him in 5 6 weeks. If we're still sat lower half mid-table, he's gone. Got to go.
Ned, let's come to you next on this one, because I know Nick has a lot to say, so it's probably a good one to leave till last on this particular topic.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, like, in fact, I will just quickly stand up and applaud Warren. Because honestly, what he just spoke there was just pure gospel. Honestly, but
I agree. 100%, by the way, 100%.
I feel I'm going to throw up now.
But you know, it's, again, I was going to say, you know, looking at the fixture list, you know, Salford, your Leighton Orient, your not Rochdale, of course, Stockport. You know, the previously, you know, they didn't look good against us, and there's a reason why they didn't look good against us. You know, so, you know, if you look at it in the sense of, you know, okay, we're not even fully dialed yet, and we haven't got beaten by those teams. You know, it can only be a positive. You know, honestly, that the Harrogate performance to now, you know, the Swindon away to Stockport. I mean, granted, you know, we could have gone up to what was it, about 9th or 8th or something if we had won that game. But there's so many positives there, and it frustrates me that you know, we're having a discussion now whether the manager, you know, head coach, should still have his job. You know, it's, you know, a manager will, you know, it's all about showing improvement, you know, from, you know, we got higher stats than we did last month. We got higher stats than we did last month, and we're on an upward curve. Honestly, any manager in any other industry would be congratulated so far, because we started off poor and we're getting better and better and better and better every week. So as far as I'm concerned, he's doing a good job. I mean, to start off with, he should have, you know, we should have been more, you know, up to speed with the tactics, and, you know, the players should be more familiar with where the other players should be on the pitch. Okay, granted, but it's a bad start. But he's shown improvement each week, so absolutely no debate at all. He's the right man for us.
What you're saying there, Ned, is he does seem to be learning from his mistakes, which is another reason why I would sort of give him a bit more slack, I think.
Yeah, and also Warren said, you know, with these fixtures coming up, certainly the next 3 fixtures, we've got the Pikeys, you know, and then we got our local derby of Newport. And then Sutton, you know, these next 3 games, we could get 9 points from these. You know, we Exactly. We could be fourth.
Ned,
We could be
just
fourth or
quickly
first.
on that. Sorry, I know just because you've just said that. What if we don't get those 9 points?
Well, this is the point. You know, he's shown improvement so far, but if it sort of goes backwards, you know, if all right, granted, if there's like loss against the Pikeys, that will sting. But again, you know, if we can get the 2 wins from the next 2 games, then fine. You know, I don't mind that. But if we don't get any wins from the next 3 games, then we need to start asking questions.
Don't you think it's a bit worrying that we're having this conversation already, where we're saying if we do this, if we win this, and if we don't win this next game and we win the next 2, it'll be all right. It's a bit concerning for me.
No, that's our fan base, though, Craig. That's you know what I mean. That's our fan base. I'm afraid Swindon's always been like this. Like, we shouldn't even be.
It's not just us, though.
No, we're no different to most clubs.
We're talking about Swindon Town here. You know what I mean? And I think it's disgusting that we're discussing. If we'd lost straight 6, then yeah, have this conversation, no problem at all. But like Ned's alluded to, and like we've also what we've said, is the performances are getting better, the results are getting there. I don't think it's fair that we write this guy off straight away. And I only judge it from a Swindon ban base thing. And don't get me wrong, we're all entitled to an opinion. I've got no problem with that at all. But I just can't have that we're trying to write this manager off already. I think it's disgusting.
That's not what I was saying, Warren. And I've made it clear that I am Lindsay in, but I'm just concerned where we are at this point in the season. It's like we're trying to make excuses for him when really he needs to take responsibility and say, look, you know, we've got 7 out of 7 points out of 18. That's not good enough. He knows that's not good enough, and you know, maybe we are on an upward curve. But
is it not good enough? You know what I mean?
We're 17.
No, but but you look at the league, Craig. It's still tight. Like, we're 2 points off the playoffs or 3 points off the playoffs. You can't say that 7 points is not bad, you know, or not great. But when we're looking at the 17th position in a league table that's really compacted because we've only played 6 games.
I think that's a point. Depends on your own individual expectations for this season, and obviously we come on in a little bit to look at the start of the season made. I would personally say, and again we'll come on to it, that 7 points isn't a good start, really. There'll be the people that say we've only lost 1 league game, but we've only won 1 league game. You know, the point Woody made about the draws is valid as well, and everyone will have a different opinion, and that's why I like having these discussions with as many of you as possible, because we can have these points. Sorry, Warren, was there anything else you wanted to add there before we?
I'm not trying to qualm and say that Craig's wrong. No. Certainly, I'm not trying to say that at all. And with all of us, we've all got different opinions, and I'm not. I just feel like that it's still really early doors, and I know some people don't buy that, but you know what I mean. I massively think that there's still time for this to be turned round.
Yeah,
we're saying I think the drama, but I don't feel it.
I agree.
I think that's what I was saying, but I think the question that I feel that's unanswered at the moment is, when is it too late? You know, I think that was one of Fifey's opening questions. When is it too late? I said, I think, you know, I'm not Lindsay out, but I do think Christmas is too late. I know we've got the Bolton story and all of that kind of stuff, but I think Christmas is too late. And I think, in the grand scheme of things, the results that we've got against other sides have not been bad results. They've not been good results, but they've not been bad results. Considering, bearing in mind that a lot of the people that were saying that, you know, give him time and that, fair enough, but we're also the people that could have been saying, we're going to go up this season. So how can we say that getting 7 points within 6 games is a form side of going up, when we're thinking, you know, I take your point, we have played Leyton Orient, we have played, you know, XYZ, but we've already said at the beginning of the season that we're going to be going up this season. Well, not all of us, but some of us, including me, have said that we're going to go up this season. So shouldn't we be beating the teams that we are only just scraping 1-1 draws against and things like that? But I guess my point is when is it too late? When is it too late to say, I made it clear, like October for me, you know, November time is, I think I am a little bit concerned now, because I think we should have more points, but I'm not I'm not saying Lindsay should go because two things. One, I don't think there's anybody ready to come in yet. And I do kind of agree we need to give him a bit of time, but there's got to be a stage where we go, no, that's not good enough now, and that's why I asked Ned about if we lose the next 3 games.
I was just saying, I think we just need to remember we've won as many as we've lost. So it's not been a dreadful start.
Yeah, but when that's one, that's a bad start.
17th. It's a false comment to say we're 17th because one win bolsters.
It's not. It's a false comment.
It's not Barrow only lost one
comment.
Are you at all?
No, it's not a false comment. It's a false comment because the league changes.
It's not a false comment. It's factual.
No, yeah, but
there's only 2 teams in the bottom half of the table that have lost to one game.
So Ben, if we were 6, would that be a false comment as well?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
He said economy. False economy.
Yeah.
Not a comment.
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought
false
you said
economy.
Yeah.
Because the start of the season is just, it's a form guide. It's all this is. It's the first 6 games. It's nothing but form. Barrow are not going to be where they are at the end of the season. It's not.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people said that Barrow would be right down the bottom, and I stuck my hand up and I said Barrow won't be whipping boys this year. And winning 5 of your first 6 games is pretty good going, regardless of where you finish.
But if they finish 14th, they've had an unbelievable season. If they finish 13th, 14th, you may even top them, but they are not going to be in the top 3. Are not going to be where we are. And we are.
I'm very conscious that Nick has been waiting very patiently to have his say on it. And just very briefly before I hand over, because I know that this is the one he was particularly looking forward to. Thanks to everyone who's getting involved in the live chat. I've also been drawn to the attention that there's quite a few comments coming through on our Twitter page as well. Michelle makes some very good points on the Harry McKirdy topic we discussed earlier. We've had some comments praising Craig for some of the points he's made as well. What else have we had here? We've had a let Nick speak, which I promise I will do shortly. Ned is talking a lot of sense. People keep talking about, so I don't know if Craig notices it. I know we all are, but his video tends to freeze and he's talking and a lot of people mentioned about his video.
I didn't realise you guys had. None of you bastards told me. So
no.
Ben, we have had a request for you to give a little wave if you wanna throw that out just before we hand over. A little wave.
Who's that?
Yeah, one of your Twitter mates. Don't worry, pal. More agreements with Woody, and there's a question that I have been asked that I want to throw to Woody at the end of Nick's segment as well. What else have we got here? So yes, thank you very much for everyone who is commenting both on Twitter and on YouTube. Nick, you have waited very patiently. Here's your opportunity. Say everything you want to say.
Well, I agree.
Sorry, before Nick starts. I'm joking. Sorry, Nick. I couldn't resist.
Cheers, Craig. My issue with Lindsay is that we started off with 3 centre halves at the back. He had to change it when McKirdy got sent off. We went to a back 4. We've recruited on the basis of playing, call it a back 3 or a back 5, however you want to do it. We've got 5 centre halves. And if you take Minton, that's an additional one. So that gives us plenty of cover. You get 1 suspended, 1 injured. We've got cover there. He should have stuck to his guns and said to the fans from the outset, this is how we've recruited. This is how we're going to play, unless injuries, suspensions, or particular teams we're going to play against, and we will change it. He hasn't done that. He's gone to a back 4, whether that's pressure from the fans, pressure from elsewhere. Back 4 is, I don't care what system we work, as long as we win. Back 4, you can argue, hasn't worked. We've won 1 game. So it hasn't made any difference whatsoever. So my issue is, the club have recruited to play a certain way. He said today in his press conference, Hutton and Shad are wing backs or wingers. They're not full backs. He doesn't rate Hutton as a full back, which is why Darcy was there. So he should have stuck to his guns. If that's what he believed at the start of the season, he should have said, this is how we're going to play. We'll go 5 at the back and we will push on that basis. And he's moved away from that, from pressure, because I believe he's an inexperienced manager, chief coach, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's where our issue is. I don't think the players know what their jobs are, where they should be playing, how they should be playing, which is why we've only won one game. Unless we change and he says, okay, we want to go back 4, so we need to recruit. We need at least 2 more forwards and we need a fullback. I thought before the start of the season, we were talking about where we were going to finish. I thought we had a decent squad. I've actually changed my mind on that because I was looking at what we had available on Saturday. And apart from the players that were on the bench, we had 3 centre halves, a goalkeeper and a fullback stroke win back. We had 1 attacker and 1 midfielder. Gives us no options. And the only other options available were Dabry, Minton, Cowmeadow and Massey. We had 3 players unavailable, Divine and Iandolo, and obviously McKirdy suspended. So from that basis, the squad isn't good enough to get us into, I thought we'd be top 3. We'll be lucky to scrape into top 7 with that squad. So either he goes back to 3 at the back, which is what he wanted to do, and that's how he started, and take the belief that that's how he wants to play. If he doesn't want to do that, we need a massive influx of players before the end of the window, which is unfortunately highly unlikely. So that's my criticism of Lindsay, that he's gone away from what he wanted to start as it was enforced upon us. And yeah, we had a good result against Salford. Whether it's justified or not, I don't know. But he should have stuck to a back 3. I don't personally like it, but if that was his belief, that's what he should have stuck to.
It's an interesting one, and actually the back 3 comes up as part of the next thing that I'd like to discuss with you. But before we move on, Woody, there was just one sort of side question to this that I've actually thought about from the games that I've been to this season, and it was put to me again on Twitter over the weekend. What do you think, as someone who coaches, about the fact that we seem to have 3 or 4 people shouting all the time different instructions? Craig's spotlighted himself.
Yeah, Craig, pull yourself. I'm sat there going, who am I talking to? Oh, this is weird. This is weird. I don't like it.
Craig's taken over.
Awkward.
But he seems to have. There we go. He's back.
Oh, it's God! It's like watching my nan.
Sorry, Woody. Let's try that again. So, with regards to the multiple voices, not just Lindsay, but all the coaches constantly shouting instructions, is that something you would like in that position, having other coaches all shouting instructions? Do you think that there's a reason they're doing it, or could it be misconstrued and confusing?
Well, if he didn't like it, Scott Lindsay would ask him not to do it. I think we've looked at it across all the previous managers. Like Mildy's a very vocal. I love watching Mildy. I think he's actually quite underrated in what he provides to the squad, to the coaching staff. I think you're right, and this sounds a bit of a cop-out, but it really depends on who you've got in there. Because, like you say, I think Gav Gunning brought in as a defensive coach. If he's talking a defensive remark, then yes, he should speak. But then I think sometimes managers, including myself in the past, we sometimes could hide behind what other coaches are saying because we're not actually confident in what we're saying ourselves. So didn't Wellens have Hunter Milder? Yeah. So and I agree with that, Kieran. I think so. Really, I think it really does depend on the actual manager themselves, how comfortable they feel with the instructions that are being given, and that maybe comes automatically with that head coach setup. Because with a manager, you've kind of got, your Warnocks and things like that, those kind of presence where it's their voice that matters, and you very rarely get somebody coming up in front of them. You look back in the Ferguson eras, it was only really kind of 1 or 2 that would come up with him. But when you've got kind of a coaching team set up, so I look at like my role this year, both me and my not my assistant. Sorry, I got to correct myself already. Me and Ethan are the joint development head coaches, whereas last season I had assistants. So I think it really depends on what information you're delivering, but you can be very open to. Sounds like you're delivering the opposite messages, which they've got to have a very, very, very tight line on how they're doing that. But I would imagine at the professional level, they must be discussing all of that kind of thing in advance, way in advance. Mildy, we talk about Mildy, he's very vocal across the pitch. I imagine Lindsay's probably said to Gunn and only talk about this stuff. I can't remember the other backroom staff, unfortunately, but they all have their responsibilities. But I don't know, as that question kind of stemmed, was there a particular moment where it was just all of them shouting at once?
Just every game. They're all just stood there shouting all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets a reaction, then so be it. But I think players in a professional capacity would have been used to that for so long that they, it's not the guy, it's not one of the players' dads and his brother running aside, is it? These are genuine people that are paid to do what they do. So I don't think it has a massive impact. Players train with them week in, week out. So, okay,
let's move on then and talk. There's two sides to the recruitment that has been widely discussed. Nick, as you waited so long for the Lindsay one, do you want to start on the potentially good side of the discussion or the potentially bad side of the discussion?
I don't know. You throw me
Excellent.
there.
Go on, Nick.
On the discussion of Lindsay, we saying?
No. We're on the next bit now. So there's two, like I said, there's two sections. We want to talk about what's coming up on deadline day, what we need, how many we think we'll get. But there's also been a question raised by multiple people. Is Sandro Di Michele got questions to answer himself with regards to the recruitment?
Sorry, yeah. Okay. On bringing players
which one to start with?
Yeah, I think we definitely need two forwards. Can't see us getting them, but I think we definitely need two. From the comments from Lindsay and what we're looking at, we probably need a right back. Because he's got no faith in the current players we've got to play that position. Current recruitment is probably 50-50. If you look at Clayton, Darcy, lost a player now. There's two or three that have been really good, look classy, decent players. And then there's two or three probably still trying to find their. Khan would be the other one. Those three positives. And then you've got Hutton. I think he's a decent player, probably not being played in the right position. Sade, whatever you want to call him. I don't even know what his position is, to be honest. I don't know where he's supposed to be playing, what his best position is. So he's probably a question mark. So yeah, he's probably got, I don't know, 50% of it looks really, really good. And those are players that can be developed. And with the plan that it is, we develop them, we enhance their value, we sell them on, we take the money, we bring extra players in. So that looks a positive. And I say there's two or three that probably at the moment haven't reached the heights that we would expect.
Okay. Warren, how many do you think we need in before the end of the window?
I would take a striker. If there was to be one, that would do for me. I think with regards to the points about what we're saying about whether we need a right back, as a head coach for Lindsay, can we make Hutton a better player at a right back? You know what I mean? It's all well and good saying we need to go out and buy another right back, but make Darcy and Hutton better in that position. whether that means by coaching, by working. You know what I mean? They're professional footballers. Do you know what I mean? We don't need to go out and panic and buy a right back and have another one sat in here. Do you know what I mean? It's train these boys to be better in those positions. That's the one thing I didn't agree with Lindsay saying. I don't feel that they're thinking, well, you're the head coach, buddy. Put it right and try and make it work. Do you know what I mean? Don't just write them off straight away.
Yeah.
A striker needs to come through the door. I think Wakelin's been brilliant. We've all alluded to that. I won't get Woody started again on the old Wakelin thing.
I'm sure he'll bring it up in a second.
We haven't seen enough of Adeloy. For what we have seen, I don't think it's enough. I think we need a different dimension of striker, maybe, with the system that we're playing. I think we need a striker. I think hopefully that's the one that they're discussing at the moment, because that's going to be the difference for us. I think the defensive side of it can change. And just a little point for me on the D. McKirdy thing. I don't think the guy's done a bad job, to be perfectly honest with you. We've bought players. We haven't loaned a lot of players like we've been used to the last seasons, that we've bought in 5 or 6 loanees and they've all got to play, and then it's all like this and all like that. We have bought a good core of players. Clayton, I think, has been a revelation since he's come in and been given a chance. Khan, I think, has been brilliant. And I think Khan will only get better. Wakelin's been a very good signing. There's a couple there, Shade, Sade, Hutton, but I still think it's very early to write them off. Make them better players. You're a head coach, make them better players. I don't see no reason why they can't get any better or improve. I think Hutton was a good player at Barrow, so I think I don't agree with Lindsay's comments again, like I've just said, that he shouldn't be written off just yet, that he can play at fullback. He could do a job there. For me, I think all we need is a striker. 2 would be lovely, but like Nick alluded to, I don't think we're going to get 2. They come at the highest price. We're a League 2 football club with massive loads of expenditure that we can afford to go and buy these. 1 striker would do me, and I'd be more than happy and work with the other players that we've got, because they're not bad lads at all.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Craig?
Yeah, I think obviously we need a striker. I think if we can get a big target man in without having the need to totally rechange how we play, but I think if we had someone solid like that up front to hold up the ball and have Wakelin and McKirdy either side, I think that would make a difference to us, and I'd be a lot more optimistic. Not quite Ben levels, but I will be optimistic of us doing better. I think we do need a right back. I don't want Darcy playing right back. He's done well, don't get me wrong, playing out of position, and fair play to him. But I see him as Jack Payne's replacement, and I want to see him playing in that role and linking up with our front players. I don't want him going right back. I agree with what Warren was saying about Hutton, train him as a right back. I think with what Woody was saying about the difference earlier between fullbacks and wing-backs, I think if you're a fullback, being able to play as a wing-back is difficult. But I think if you're a wing-back, becoming a fullback shouldn't be that difficult. So I think Hutton could do that. And another right-back. I am concerned about the centre-back situation, which sounds a bit odd. And I'm going to go against everything I've said for the last few seasons about us having bloated squads. But I think another centre-back in. I'm not convinced with McDonald so far. I don't think he has been that good. Clayton's been good, brilliant. Yeah, no problem at all. And also potentially another defensive midfielder, somebody who is solid. I hate to use the example of Anthony Grant, but yeah, in that mould, Reed just doesn't seem to be the same player so far. I want him to be like the player he was last season, and obviously I'll give him a chance. But again, how long do we do that? So yeah, I think we need to make a few signings, a striker at least, defensive midfield, centre back, and right back.
You're expecting a busy couple of days then, Craig. Woody,
it's not going to happen. Well, I'm saying what I want to happen. Whether I don't think it will, but
Woody,
we need a third goalie, I think.
Well, there's still talk that Ward might be leaving.
Okay, I was only joking, and that was only because Mike Dixon said I was going to say that. what do we need? I do agree. We probably need another forward in case Wakelin decides to have a bit of a dip in form. I'll tell you what we could do. We could do with this. There's this young lad, young lad, probably middle-aged for football terms, who plays at right back, sometimes left back at Leyton Orient, called Rob Hunt. We could do with somebody like him, to be totally honest.
How about someone very similar who's at Peterborough and apparently has said he wants to go out on loan?
Well, I mean, if he comes back, then I might actually just get a season ticket there and then and pay beyond the dues for it.
Woody's Wi-Fi's kicked in?
No.
There we go, he's back.
You're right.
Yeah, that was a StreamYard issue. What else have we got? To be honest, I think one of our biggest signings to come back. No, I actually stopped talking then, lads. It didn't freeze. I think one of the biggest signings that we will have is Ellis coming back from injury. To be totally honest, I think we're going to have that'll make such a big difference when he's back because of the amount of positions he can play. A forward, I agree with Craig. I'd like to see another holding midfielder come in, but I don't think we'll get one in. I'm probably a little bit more lenient on our centre backs, but I'd say our priority for me, holding midfielder, a forward, and like I say, if Tomlinson comes available, then obviously I think we just take him because he's better than what we've got, and he would do a really good job for us.
Ben, Ned, I want to come to you next. I want to say Ben last for a particular reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would like to see two strikers if possible. When I say two strikers, I mean one out-and-out striker and one sort of in-year sort of attacking midfielder, forward, wide player sort of can play, either in a 2 or in a 3 up top. That's what I would like to see. There's a few, maybe like a young lone forward, but what I said before as well, because of the 5 substitutes, that puts more value on maybe getting a striker, like maybe someone in their early 30s or something has a lot more value to us now. So I would like to see us bring in someone like that. And Wazza nailed it with the right back, for sure. I'd love to see them really sort of put some hard graft in with getting Hutton up as a right back. I mean, that's a massive shout. But again, like it was just said, getting Tomlinson back and have him in at right back, that would be sick. How good would that be? But I don't see that we need too many other players come in. But we'll just quickly say, when you think about the hits and misses so far from Sandro, there's definitely, I think for me personally, I think there's more hits than there is misses. I have to say, Tyrese, Sade, whatever.
Definite miss.
It's a definite miss. I was so looking forward to him. He's been a massive, massive disappointment so far. And it was rightly said earlier, you literally can't tell what his best position is because he's shown nothing in any position he's played in so far. I hope it comes good. I hope it comes good because what I saw from him at Walsall, I really quite liked him and I was really excited about coming. But something's not quite ticked yet. I'm not sure what it is, but hopefully that will snap into the correct gear at some point. And I'm really sorry to say, Adeloy, he's dog shit. I'm sorry, he's terrible. How he scored 17 goals for Ayr last year or whatever it was. He's absolutely awful.
But he's hardly played.
But honestly,
how can you judge him on that, Ned? He got hauled off against Harrogate. And that's it. He's had a few minutes here and there. When he's on the pitch, Harry McKirdy doesn't pass to him, and he just doesn't. He hasn't had the chance to prove himself.
I'm sorry, but we've all played in 5-a-sides where you don't pass the mate boy because he's dog shit. Do you know what I mean? Unless it's an open goal and you kick it off him and it goes in. But
what I would say is I was the quote marks matey boy that never got past to because he was dog shit. And Adeloy is a lot better than I ever was.
No, I mean, like, I haven't seen him hold up the ball yet. And
see, now
the size of him.
I wish Mark was here because he did play against Warsaw in the Cup. And admittedly, we didn't play great, but we both were saying, and we put in our WhatsApp group, that the minute he came off, there was absolutely no chance we were getting anything out of that game because he was destroying their defenders at times.
Didn't score though.
Well, we only create about 1.5 chances a game.
I mean,
You just said he was destroying out their defenders.
Yeah, Ned made the point about hold-up play and stuff. He was doing everything you want that striker to do, but he's not been given a chance to do that in the league.
I'd like him to win ahead and maybe possibly make us look dangerous from crosses, but we weren't getting that from him. Honestly, I really, really want him to do well, but he's terrible. He's terrible.
I think if he's given a run, you'll change your mind. I honestly do.
If he's given a run, hopefully it's to Oxford and he doesn't come back again.
That's very, very harsh.
I'm so glad that Ned holds
bad.
back on these.
He's bad. He's really bad. I honestly take a 54-year-old Sean Close coming back. Right, but yeah, all right. Joking aside, I think when you look at the players coming in, apart from Adeloy, it's been mostly wins. I mean, it's like you know, the wonderful player that is Kean Harries. He hasn't really been given a chance yet, and I think I think he's got the potential to be good. He just needs to be given a chance.
Are you just biased because we sponsor him?
There might be a hint of bias there.
How many minutes has Harry's played compared to Adeloy? About the same, isn't it?
I don't think Harry's has played half as much as Adeloy. I think well, if you give me a few minutes, I'll tell you how many minutes Adeloy's played.
Give us a mini Ned report then, Ned.
Well, Ned's getting his stats together. I want to throw it over to Ben because I am interested in what Ben thinks we need compared to what he thinks we'll get. But I also want to kick off the proper Di Michele conversation with him to see if anyone else jumps in. So start with your transfer window wishes, Ben.
Okay, well, the wishes for the transfer window obviously would be a striker first and foremost. I think that's very important. I want a number 9. I'm quite happy for Wakeland to get moved either side with McKirdy, either side of the new striker. I think that will suit Wakeland's game a little bit more than just being left in front. I think he can drop back, pick the ball up, and fight for it a little bit, and he's got a bit of nastiness, and I think that will do him some good. So number 9. And pull out all the stops to get Joe Tomlinson back. Do what we can. He's a Swindon fan and he's from Swindon. So that clearly he's got to hold some weight.
I'm a Swindon fan, originally from Swindon. Should we sign me before deadline day?
Yeah, but he's actually good.
Okay, fair enough.
He's really good. He's really, really good. And he'll make a big difference going forward. He scores goals.
For what it's worth, I do agree.
Yeah, he's good at set plays and he'll improve us. By all means, we stick... Darcy back in midfield and Hutton can compete with Tomlinson. Brilliant at that. And also, if there's a dramatic exodus or something happens on the left back, then he can also flip over the other side as well if desperately needed. So, yeah, get Tomlinson back. Do anything we can to get him back and a striker. I'd like to see a central defensive midfielder as well, like Craig said, to compete. I don't think we'll get one. I think we're just getting 2. And I think the closest one is the striker.
So I wanted to, I led in with this, Ben, saying, does Sandro have questions to answer? And it's interesting how positive quite a few of the panelists have been about quite a few of the signings we have made despite the start. I know you're a big fan of quoting increased budget, etc., etc. So this is why I wanted to save you till last to bring this up.
Okay.
One of the major criticisms, and this isn't solely at him, but he has to take the responsibility for the transfers because of his position. Lindsay would be involved in this conversation as well. We have clearly recruited for this 3-5-2.
Yes.
And we're left in a situation where we evidently don't have a right back because we've realised we need to play a 4 to be better, supposedly. I know Nick doesn't necessarily agree with that. But that's one of the fundamental flaws in that we don't have the players required to get the best outcome, if that makes sense. You know, they recruited solely for one formation and then threw it out the window within a couple of games.
I think this is what Nick was alluding to, really, and I kind of agree with him in a way. But I was calling for a change of formation because we were god-awful against Harrogate and we were god-awful for the first half against Salford. And then when we changed to a 4 at the back, we looked so much better and so much more comfortable. So maybe we have recruited in some ways for a 3-5-2 with the wing-backs. But the midfielders and when the defenders that we got, the defenders are probably not that comfortable carrying the ball out to midfield that you need, like a Critchlow, to play at 3 at the back. You know, I can't see McDonald bringing the ball up 30, 40 yards, dropping his shoulder and beating a midfielder to find a space to slip someone in. I can't see it. You know, so the defenders are better playing at a 2. So I think they've seen that and they think, right, we need to change this. But they've already committed, so they're left in limbo, which is possibly why I've had such an indifferent start. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So I think they just make a decision either way, and they just say, right, we either just don't bother with 3-5-2 anymore, and we just get the players that we got and work with them to work in the formation that we've got, which I think is the best way forward.
Is it that simple, Woody, of just saying we recruited 3-5-2, we don't think it's the way to go, we just scrap it all together now?
No, I don't. I'm not going to lie. I don't really get the question. But I don't think Lindsay's recruited to play a 3-5-2, and I don't think that his system is a 3-5-2. That's why I slightly disagree with Nick a little bit earlier. I think he wants to play progressive football, and you can play progressive football in a manner of different formations. You know, whether that be 4-3-3, 3-4-3, 3-5-2. You can even make a really boring 4-4-2 look quite progressive attacking if you wanted to. But I think that's probably where I do stick up for Dean McKirdy a little bit, because the players that we have brought in do have that attacking intent, which is probably why we leak so many goals. But it's or we don't leak so many goals anymore. That's something that has improved. You know, kudos to Lindsay on that one. But yeah, so you know, I don't think we're recruiting to a 3-5-2 system. I think he's trying to recruit to what we need to provide some form of attacking football. Maybe Lindsay's just trying to work out how is the best way for us to provide that style of attacking football. And like we say, like was alluded to earlier, the games are getting better in terms of the way we're playing. And maybe, you know, me included, we need to be a little bit more patient and see when it comes off. And we don't know. We don't know what's happening over the next couple of days with the transfer window. So, I don't think we're recruiting to a 3-5-2.
Yeah, but why do we have 5 centre halves then? If we're not recruiting to playing 3 at the back, 3 centre halves at the back, you have 3 centre halves play normally, then you've got 2 backup. So what if you're playing 4 at the back, you don't need 5 centre halves in your squad. Plus we've got Lincoln as a 6.
But if we look at the 5 centre backs we've got, Kean Harris is more of a development project. So over time,
I don't know, he's a bit more experienced than that, I think.
Yeah, but I think, but at the same time though, like if we're playing for a 3-5-2, why have we only recruited 1 striker or 2 strikers if you include Adeloye? You know, it's you've got
McKirdy.
You can't look at one end. Then, so why do we need a striker then if we're playing 3-5-2 when we've got 3 strikers?
Well,
including Parsons, who's out on loan, who we've sent out on loan.
He's gone out.
Very true.
I mean, the way we're setting up, we just as well play 4-5-1. Keep 4 at the back, play 5 in midfield and 1 up front.
But let's not forget as well, isn't Clayton also a holding midfielder? I'm pretty sure when we signed him, he was actually advertised as a holding midfielder, not as a
I thought he was coming as a centre half.
Never mind.
Because Lindsay was asked, was he number 5 as a centre half? He said no, he was never the 5th choice.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, I don't think he was. He might have had him in mind to recruit for 3-5-2, but I don't think we're recruiting now based on a 3-5-2 because he's changed it. So we deal with having 5 centre backs. It's we've got two right backs, but we don't play a right back system, or we don't have 2 right backs. We have 2 right wing backs, but we're playing 4 at the back. So I don't think we can literally drill it down to saying we're recruiting for a 3-5-2 when we might not necessarily.
Except Lindsay says we haven't got a right back because Hutton's not a right back.
But then he plays 4 at the back. So
he puts a midfielder in it right back, who we sign as a midfielder. So
why aren't we targeting a right back then? So why aren't we targeting a right back?
Well, if we're going to play 4 at the back, we need one.
Well, unless we go with what Warren said, which I agree with, you sort of retrain Hutton to do the job properly.
I mean, Hutton played 44 games last season. He's a right back stroke wing back. So he couldn't have been that shit. So either we made a big mistake in bringing him in or we're not using him properly.
Well, it's certainly an interesting question. Guys, these conversations could go on for hours. So I would like to keep moving it on to the next bit. And it's the bit that could be quite contentious, or we could, but because I can't see us all agreeing on this. And it's simply the question of, has it been an acceptable start? So I'm looking at it. And again, there are various ways. You could say we've only won 1 game. You could say we've only lost 1 game. The point Woody made earlier is very true. We've drawn 4 of 6. That's twice as many as the nearest team who have drawn any games this season. There's quite a few teams that have drawn 2. Nobody's drawn 3, and then there's us out there on 4. I know Ben's the sort who will look at it and say 5 unbeaten. I will say still only won 1 of those, and that's against bottom of the league. There's a lot. I would argue we've been quite lucky in a few games that we've drawn as well, which would be a concern. And then a post got sent to me earlier today, and I'm interested in your guys' views on this as well. Ned, I don't think I've started with you on any topics yet, so I'll come to you first, just on the start of the season as a whole. But the cover question for this is there more pressure on the team this year?
I think possibly being getting to the playoffs, you would possibly argue that we should be up there. So I guess in that respect, there might be pressure. And also, being, was it strong and stable, whatever it is that, we want to be classed as now with a new owner and, only a couple of debts that haven't been paid yet. I guess that you want to be classed as a team that's going to be coming, somewhere in the top 6 or 7. So I guess in that respect, you could possibly argue. I mean, there was such little pressure on us last year at the start of the season. I don't know. It's an interesting. Never really thought about that point before. Are
you satisfied with how we've both performed and the return of points in the opening 6 games? Are you satisfied?
I just want to say that the start of the season was the worst. It was the absolute worst. That first game was horrific. What have they been doing pre-season? It feels like we got 11 players and just stuck them on the pitch, and then I'm not sure if you've ever seen that Wordle. You've got the movie thing, the movie one where it shows a second, and they got to try and absorb all the information in that second. It seemed so disjointed. It seemed like we didn't have a pre-season at all. We had the worst possible start, but since then it's been getting progressively better. So I think we're in a better position now, a significantly better position than we were after the first game. But it's still disappointing that we had such a bad start to the season. So bad.
So is it acceptable where we are now?
Where we are now, it's acceptable because we're showing improvement. The first game of the season was not acceptable. it was not acceptable. The fact that we looked so disjointed and we didn't know what we was doing, and no one seemed to know their roles on the pitch, and just to give such a bad performance, that was definitely not acceptable. But now we're showing
We're on an upward
bad signs.
trajectory.
Absolutely. So I would still class myself as disappointed, but it's certainly a hell of a lot better than the first game of the season.
So going back to the title of this episode, then you're saying what crisis as opposed to crisis?
I don't think we need to have discussions about Lindsay going. I don't think we need to have an overhaul on players. I think we're one or two players shy. I think we're now doing all right. We're doing extremely terribly, but we're doing all right now. I just would like to see more chances created, more clear-cut chances created, but I'm sure that will come throughout the season.
Okay, Ben.
Well, we said before, we've won as many as we've lost, so it's been an indifferent start. I think we're on a sort of crossroads at the minute, where our season really could go either way, if I'm honest.
It's a big statement, 6 games in.
It is 6 games in. Well, it's 6 games in. As I say, the season is just a form guide. But where the fans are at the moment and the mood of the club, I think we've got a few games coming up that are very winnable. If we can win 2 of the 3, then I think everyone looks a lot more positive. If we don't win anything, if we draw 2 of them and lose 1, and I think that the mood just turned very sour a little bit. I think we are where we are because we've drawn too many, not because we've lost games, because we've drawn too many. So it's not crisis. It's not like we're in a terrible position. It's a very quick and easy fix. A couple of wins and the whole season's looking different, and we look different about the players. I'm encouraged with the performances. We've started badly and got better. I'd much rather it that way round than started quite well and got progressively worse. I'd be a lot more worried then. So I'm confident that we will get better and have a good season, and towards the back end of the season, push towards where we want to be, which is around the top 7. That's my opinion. Okay. I hope I'm right. We all hope I'm right. Let's hope so, but we'll see what happens.
Woody?
I tend to not see the start of the season finishing until 10 games in, but I think if we don't get, in my opinion, 9 out of 9 points out of the next 12, I think it's not an acceptable start to the season. But that's only because we've drawn those games, and that's not saying that they were bad draws against teams who should, but they are draws at the end of the day. We'd be 10 games in, and we would have paid a good majority of teams that will be hunting in the hunting pack. So, I'd say at the moment it's a concern, but not a concern where it's a crisis. But the next, maybe even 5 games, but the next 4 games are very, very important.
Okay. Nick?
Positive for me at the moment is we haven't lost at home. After last season, where we lost 7, drew 7, dropped far too many points at home. It's only 6 games. We're a few points off of getting on to the top 7. Agree with Woody, the next 3 or 4 games are critical, and we need to get some decent points out of those. So by the end of September, I think we will have a good idea of where we're likely to go. Whether then with our predictions of top 3 or top 7, that will become a lot clearer. So on the whole, from everything that I've said all evening, I'm still quite positive that we will challenge for promotion in some way or form.
Okay, so it sounded like next month's going to be crucial, Warren.
Yeah. Is it been acceptable? In my eyes, I don't even look at the table. Like Woody alluded to, I don't even look at it till 10 games. That's just the way that I've always done it. I don't, we'd all love to be sat here that 6 games in, we've won 6. Don't get me wrong. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? But we're not there. We're getting better. It's progressing in the right direction. I agree that we feel like sort of September, October is going to be a massive couple of months for us to pick up some results, and that's going to need to be shown. You know what I mean? It's a massive overreaction for me. There's no crisis. There shouldn't be even a talk of it. You know what I mean? From the results that we've had, the performances, you know what I mean? The one was worse was the Harrogate one for me, but that's the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than acceptable for me. I don't see any reason why we should be panicking. And I think this is the period now where we walk out of this period where they've had a chance to bed in. And this is the big period when then we can properly judge it. But it's been more than acceptable for me. I don't look at the table really much, to be honest. And the season begins for me now because we're drilled in and we're ready to go.
Okay, that's very fair. Last but not least on this topic, Craig, has it been an acceptable start for you?
No, it hasn't. But that doesn't mean it's a crisis. I can say it's not an acceptable start without thinking it's a crisis and we have to, push the panic button. We're 17th with, however many points. I can't even remember what it is now. But look, we said, most of us on this panel said this at the start of the season, that the start of the season is key, having a good start. We haven't had a good start. And I'm going to shock you all by partly agreeing with Ben here. We are at a crossroads. I do agree with him there. And yeah, I said it earlier, this next month is going to be key. But if he doesn't get those 3 wins in 4 or 5 games, are we going to say, October's going to be key? I don't want to I don't want us to keep kicking the can down the road. That's what I'm worried about, because we did that the relegation season. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. There's 4 teams that are worse than us, and look what happened. So, again, I'm not Lindsay out, but I don't think that where we are, 17th with 7 points, is an acceptable start to the season, to answer the question.
Okay. Penultimate topic then. We have spoken in previous episodes about what our thoughts are on, depending on which money you like to use, the LDV Vans Trophy, the Johnston's Paint Trophy, or to give it its proper name, the Papa John's Trophy nowadays. Just very quickly, because we have somehow, despite splitting the agenda into 2 episodes, already gone past the 2-hour mark tonight. Craig, I'll start with you. Just a prediction for what you're expecting to see tomorrow. Again, are you expecting a few changes? Some of the players we've spoken about, are they going to get a run out? And a score prediction, please.
Oh, Fofi, I'm glad you started with me for my favourite subject. The good old Zenith Data Systems Cup. That was the division, wasn't it? I mean, everyone knows my thoughts on this, so I'll keep it brief. I'm hoping there'll be loads of goals and it'll be an entertaining game tomorrow. I'm hoping for 2-2, and those players that are on the fringe get a run out. I don't like the competition, so that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, Ben.
Much echo what Craig says. I hope players get minutes who haven't had minutes so far. I'd like to see our guy Kieran Harris get a game. Hopefully he will and have a good game. And I hope we find some goals. I hope Adloy gets a goal tomorrow, because I think he needs one. I hope we progress. I don't want us out because I don't like losing games, but I'm not really that hard.
Nick?
Yeah, I'm actually going tomorrow for the first time going to a Pisspot Trophy game, as a lot of people call it. I'd like to see Airman playing. Hopefully he has a decent game. It'd be really good if we could catch up with him after the game, but I doubt that'll happen. So, I'd like to see different players get on the pitch. Having not been able to go last Saturday or next Saturday, that's the reason I'm going to, just to get a football fix. So hopefully it'll be decent.
Okay. Ned?
Palace have got good under-21s team, or under-23s, whatever it is nowadays. I really like a few of their players, so hopefully Rob Street plays, because I really want us to sign him on loan. But there we go. If Tony Adloy can't score and can't boss an under-23s team, then I'm sorry. That sort of solidifies my thoughts on him. But there we
Is
go.
Adaloy this season's Mitchell Lawson? Is that what you're saying there?
Mitchell Lawson was useful in some
Oh,
games.
really?
Which game was you?
That bad.
Net.
What game was Mitchell Lawson good at, apart from Plymouth?
When they started him into like a bit of a wing backy type position, he looked all right. he was all right. But yeah, I mean, yeah, both rotten players.
I still can't forgive him for that Crawley miss. That Crawley miss sticks in my mind.
Adaloy hat trick.
Come on, prove me wrong. Come on,
Adaloy.
Yeah.
Warren?
Big man. Bang him in.
I never want us to lose games, never want us to throw games, but it's classic fringe players gets minutes. It might be a chance to actually put Hutton in a right back position and see if he can actually do all right, because he's been so bad. But you know what I mean? Fringe players gets minutes, gives them a chance. They'll come up against a good Palace side. Palace have got a good academy, good full of kids that are, you know what I mean, that will want to prove themselves. I think, like Craig said, it could be a really good game, and Ben alluded to it. Could be some goals. I'm not really bothered about the competition, to be honest with you. But like you say, fringe players get some much needed game time, and that's what's massive for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Woody?
Well, you know, I don't mind the competition, so I'm probably the only person on the panel that doesn't mind it. Yeah, it is a good opportunity to get fringe things. I do sometimes. I think it's a good opportunity to give them the time, but I still have that opinion that we are a League Two side for a reason. We should be taking all competition seriously. But yeah, I think we will win, but Crystal Palace will be decent, as Wazza has alluded to. They're good all over the club. Even from a woman's perspective, they're a good side as well. So yeah, it's it'll be a good game. I want us to progress, because if this is a season where we don't potentially do that particularly well in the league as we want to, maybe we can try and get somewhere with a trophy. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have any qualms against the competition. So for me, it's another competition that we need to win a game.
I hope the likes of Harry's and Aguiar and these sorts of players get some time. Obviously, it'd be nice to win. It's always good for Swindon to win. I really hope Adaloy does get a hat trick just to give him that break, really. But let's for anyone going to the game.
Palace. Yeah, I'm going to the game. If anybody watched the Palace Academy series on, I think it's on Channel 4, where they're going through.
Johnny Williams was on it.
Sorry,
was Johnny Williams on it?
No, he's not that old. And they go through their academy. So they've got 100 staff that run their academy, and it is brutal, absolutely brutal, with the way kids are treated and brought through from like under 8s all the way through to under 16s, 17s, 18s. But it's a fascinating program on how the system works. So whether there'll be a few of those youngsters appearing tomorrow, I don't know. But if you get a chance to, it is worth a watch. It's a real good watch on how academy football works. But it is bloody brutal for young kids.
Something else, if you've missed it, that is worth a watch. Earlier tonight, the Christian Roberts episode on the Official Supporters Club was a very good listen. If you didn't get to catch that, I would very much recommend you do so. It's a very, very good listen. Just to conclude then, we have a special double announcement. Last week, both Craig and Woody in particular, they were able to perfectly express what the podcast kind of means to us as individuals and how we're looking to take that forward. And they were able to announce that we did sponsor Harry's, and we've put we've kind of put our money where our mouth is. And, as Woody said, we're not sponsored. We anything we do ourselves. And gentlemen, both all of you guys here and the ones who couldn't make it tonight, I thank you for sort of coming along that journey with me and you know, carrying on to build what I'm hoping is some really good content. We have concluded 2 more sponsorship deals, if you like, today. While we were discussing what we wanted to do, obviously something that's been major in our ethos right back from day one, and I know it's a particular point for Woody and for Rich, and something that the rest of us are really growing into is that we promote women's football as well. And this year we have taken to 2 sponsorships. The guys very quickly, when we were talking about sponsorship, said we wanted to sponsor Woody. So Fools Rush In are officially his sponsor for this coming season. But we have also been able to sponsor Beth Kellaway, who was on the show last week, and we will be her official sponsors for this season as well. And I would like to thank Mike Dixon as well, just a little shout out to him, who approached us after the show, after listening to Craig and Woody last week, and he basically said that he'd like to get involved if he could, and he's made a contribution towards that fund that's helped us go towards 2 sponsorships within the women's team as well. So thank you very much to Mike, and guys, again, thank you very much for getting involved. So yeah, we've now got one sponsor within the men's team. We've got a Swindon Town Women's Development Coach sponsorship, and we've got a Swindon Town Women's Player sponsorship, which I'm delighted to obviously put the Fools Rush In name to. So thank you all very much indeed. Gents, it's been very entertaining, and I love having these discussions with you. And the reason for that is social media can be a problem when it comes to this kind of thing. And I hope that we can show that you can have differing opinions and not fall out. I would like to conclude with a message I received earlier in the weekend. The person who sent it did ask to remain anonymous, and it just says, regarding social media comments about our club, players, manager, etc. Just because someone relentlessly spouts their opinion over and over, louder than anyone else, does not make it any truer to those who have a different point of view. And I think that is very, very true. We can all have, and we have expressed, different opinions throughout the evening and throughout all of our shows. But we will never shoot someone down for it. We will debate it, we will argue it, but at the end of the day, we will come off this and we will all have a good laugh at that we've managed to, despite splitting the episode into 2 parts, and there will be another episode Friday night of Fools Rush In. We've still managed to do over 2 hours worth of streaming. Thank you to everyone who has watched along and posted comments. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much to everyone who has also sent comments on Twitter. I have tried as best I can to keep us up to date on that as I can, and share as many as I can. Craig, Ben, Nick, Ned, Warren, and Woody, thank you all very much for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it. From everyone at Fools Rush In, all that's left to say is good night.
Take my hand, take my whole